Thanks for joining us online today. If you've been impacted by this ministry and have a story to share of how God is working in your life, we would love to hear it. Send an email to amen@anchorpoint.tv. Also, you can help bring messages just like this one to others who need to hear the hope and the love of Jesus by investing today at anchorpoint.tv/give. Now, we hope you enjoy today's message.
Man, I am excited you're here with us. My name is Todd. Get the opportunity to serve as the lead pastor, and man, I am pumped up. We have over 30 people scheduled to be baptized today. Come on, church. That ain't normal. That ain't normal, man. That'll fire somebody up. We're in part number 4 of Here to There. If I hadn't had a chance to meet you, my name is Todd, along with my wife Avery down here on the front. We get the honor to serve you, and man, we got the baptisms today, ending 21 days, and then we're gonna wrap this series up next week from Here to There. One more week in this series, and then we're on to our February series we're calling Power Couple. Man, we got our marriage series coming up, so relationships. So those of you dating, single, divorced, so single again, whatever it is, we have something for everybody in that series, and hope that you're here with us and for us on that. Well, if you got your Bibles today, grab them. Numbers 13. Numbers 13. We've been walking through Exodus. Been walking through the Moses and the children of Israel going from here, Egypt, to there, the Promised Land. And I know a lot of you have a here to there in your life. Some of you have it in your family. And you say, hey, we want to be from here to there. Some of you have it in your life. You're hurt and you want to be whole and you need to go from here to there. Or you're in debt and you need to go to freedom. You need to go from here to there. Everybody in this room has a here to there. Some of you are stressed out and you need to go to peaceful. You need to go from here to there. And last week when we looked at the children of Israel, we left them at the Red Sea. They had just came through the Red Sea, and our text today in Numbers 13 is about a year from that moment. So we fast forward in time about a year. God has freed them from Egypt. He has provided for them in the wilderness. He has given them the 10 Commandments. They are on the edge of there. Everybody say there. 1, 2, 3, there. They're on the edge of there. They are right there. I mean, they're there. They are on the edge. So Moses said, hey, I need about 12 of you yahoos to go. You'll see why I'll call them that in a minute. I need y'all to go in. I need you to inspect the land and see what needs to happen. And so this is their report. I'll read it to you. It's on your outline, Numbers 13, verse 27. They gave Moses this account. We went into the land which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit. In fact, we found earlier in the chapter that they came back carrying grapes, and the grapes of the land, the text says, was so big that 2 people had to carry the cluster of grapes. That there was a pole, a guy here, and then back here was a guy, and there was grape. They were the fruit. I mean, I like big grapes, and I cannot lie. Come on, somebody, y'all need to focus. Hey, man, I'm excited. We got 30 people getting baptized. Anyway, God said, He said, here's the fruit. And then it says in verse 28, but the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw the descendants of Anak there. Anak was there, y'all. That's Hebrew for big people. That's true. That's Hebrew. Ain't that right, Pastor Frank? That's Hebrew for big people. It means large people, tall people, not big people, tall people. Let me get that right. The descendants of Anak were there. The Amalekites live in the Negev, the Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites live in the hill country, and the Canaanites live near the sea along the Jordan. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land. We can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up said, we cannot attack those people. They are stronger than we are. I want to say, who says? Who says? Oh, they're stronger than us. Says who? Tell my son all the time, said this. Says who? That's what I would ask them. And they spread the report among the Israelites, a bad report about the land they explored. And they said, the land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there were of great size. We saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak, the giants, this group of people that seemed larger than life in this moment. And look what it says. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. I want to speak to you just for a few moments on this title, My Biggest Enemy. My Biggest Enemy. The Israelites find themselves in a good place with a bad report. Don't miss that. They find themselves in a good place with a bad report. And it's been said by some psychologists that you experience your perspective. One article I read said it like this: we do not solely experience our reality, we experience our perspective of our reality. So in good news or bad news, sometimes the report we believe is more important than the news we hear. See, it comes back to, how many of you ever had a bad day? You had a bad day? Raise your hand if you had a bad day. Yeah, okay, let me kind of take us there, because y'all looking like y'all don't know if that's true. That's just kind of like psychobabble. No, you ever had a bad day and yelled at your kids? You ever had a bad day? And I don't yell at my kids. You ain't parenting right, okay? All right, so no, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. That's it. But a couple weeks ago, I had a bad day. Man, I had got a few phone calls. I had worked all day. I was working. It was Tuesday. It was sermon day. And so, man, I was alone with God. I was writing some stuff out. And I got a call, and some bad things happened, and man, I mean, it was like boom, 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 like 2 or 3 in a row. So y'all, I mean, I went home in a bad mood. Everybody went home. Anybody ever went home in a bad mood? So I went home in a bad mood, and I get to the house, and this was back when, it had rained a lot. It had rained like 18,000 gallons a couple weeks ago, and we're in a newer house, and I walked by my front door, and the rain had washed out my grass, my new grass I had just put down, and I was like, oh, just like a devil right there washing out my grass. That's gonna cost money. We need gutters up here. That's gonna cost money. I walked around, and over by where we built a flower bed, there was standing water, just standing water. I'm like, look at that, water won't even drain. I don't even know how much that's gonna cost. I walk out to check my mail. This is a true story, anybody. Walk out by the mail, check the mail, and it had washed, the culvert pipe had started to wash. I'm like, oh yeah, just more money, just more money. I called Avery. She said, how's your day? I said, oh, it's great. It's just great. Bunch of money to be spent around this new house we got. She's like, well, glad you had a good day, honey. Glad you had a good day. And a buddy of mine had came over, and he was walking around. And I said, man, do you know why this water's standing over here and washing everything out? And he went up to the faucet that had been left on by my kids. And he said that water probably wouldn't be standing there if you turn just turn the. It probably wouldn't wash that out if you just turn the. See, sometimes you got to have somebody outside of your perspective tell you what's really going on. Because how many, and I'm telling you, man, we process through our filters. And some of us, our mood is our filter. Our emotions is our filter. Some of us, our past is our filter. Some of us, our pain is our filter. Some of us, comparison is our filter. We all process through a filter. And you acting like you don't. But you know when you had a bad day that turns into a bad night at home. Or when you're satisfied with your kitchen until you're scrolling on Instagram and see her kitchen. And all of a sudden, you're dissatisfied with what you have. Why? Because it's the filter. Our filter is how we interpret what we experience. And if we don't learn to identify our biggest enemy, we will spend the majority of our life fighting ones that don't really matter. We're going to spend our time fighting battles that do not move us forward to what God has for us. We're going to find ourselves fighting things that are insignificant to the call of God, the plan of God for our life. So we got to learn to see what God sees. Because like Moses, Moses saw a failure. God saw a leader. Like week number one, you know what they saw? They saw the Red Sea. They saw a destiny. They saw a detour. But God said, I see more in that. Last week, they saw a dead end. God saw a new beginning. This week, they see small, but I found out God can do a lot with a little. Come on and say amen. We got to learn to fight and win against our biggest enemy. And I want to give you 3 things that can help you in that. The first one is this. Number 1, you got to break the butt cycle. Look at the person beside you and say, he's talking about you. He's talking about you. Go ahead and tell him. I found out some people show their butt more than others. That's good preaching, Pastor Todd. That is good preaching right there, yeah. And here's how it sounds. Somebody's going to say this. Somebody says this. Well, I know I should, but. That's how it comes out. Well, that's really nice for you, but. That's how it comes out. And but people justify their negativity and complacency, and a lot of times you'll see it like this. Well, I'm just being real. Just being real. Pastor, just being real. Yeah, real negative. That's what you being real. Can I tell you something? There's a difference between what can be said and what needs to be said. This is free. This is why some of y'all ain't got no friends. That's why people don't like to hang out with you. They don't want to hear about your sciatic nerve on your first date. That's why I'm just being real. Just because you can say it doesn't mean you need to say it. In fact, I found out your bad news is not everybody's bad news. I mean, it's not. And so, but people choose to value their perspective over God's promise. Watch it in the text. Watch it in the text. They gave this account to Moses. We went into the land to which you sent us, and say it with me, and it does. All right. What God said about the land is true. It does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit. Everybody say that word with me. 1, 2, 3. But the people who live there are powerful. God told them, if you were with us in week 1, these people were in the land. You remember that? Hey, the land I'm sending you, they got the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites. All the ites are there. All the mosquito bites and cellulites, they are all in the land. For the record, they're just being cautious. They're not being cautious. They're being unfaithful. That's what they're being. And the reality is, but people can only see limitation. That's why if a but person wins the lottery, they still got an issue. Yeah, I won $357 million in the lottery, but I still got to pay taxes. Shut up. You can tell a but person you got a new house. Hey, we built a new house. Yeah, that's really great for you, but they don't build them like they used to. I probably wouldn't live in a new house if I was you. It's probably going to fall down next time a little hurricane comes through here. You can tell a but person there has been world peace. World peace has been declared. Well, that's great, but what about the people who make the tanks? They're going to be out of a job. We got world peace. I mean, how many of you know some of you got some people in your head, right? Don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand for that. My fear is some of us are that we only see the limitation. Like my fear is we come in here and sing some songs and you hear a message and you leave and live limited. Here's the deal. I'm not saying that we are unlimited. How many of you know as a parent you can reach your limitation? On 59, you can reach your limitation. Blue tags, we're glad you're here, but sometimes. But people only see the limitation. And when you only see the limitation, you see the giants and not the grapes. And that's where we are. A lot of us see the giants and not the grapes, but I want to tell you that I'm not saying ignore the limitation. I'm asking you to embrace the possibility of an unlimited God. Like, is it possible that God sees more in you than you see in yourself? Like, is it possible? I got to do this one now. Is it possible that God put you in your family on purpose? Is it possible that He gave you that job as an assignment from heaven? Is it possible that God created you with an intention and a heart in mind? Is it possible that He is with us? Is it possible that we're magnifying the problem in front of us more than the God who stands with us? Is it possible to break the cycle? Is it possible to end slavery? Is it possible to walk in freedom? Is it possible to live the life that Christ desires? I'm telling you, not only is it possible, it is available. If you're with me, say amen. It's available. That life is available. God said, you're conquerors, go get it. But they see themselves as cowards. They got an identity issue. And when you have an identity issue, you begin to behave like someone you're not. That's what happens. Like people who are afraid. Here's how it plays out in our minds. I'm afraid, therefore I'm fearful. Listen to me. It's okay to be afraid. It's not okay to be a slave to fear. You can do it scared. It's not about not being scared. In fact, if you're not scared, you don't need courage. If you're not scared, you're not attempting something big enough for God. So it's okay to live, to be afraid. It's not okay to be a slave to fear. It's okay to fail. We need to teach our kids that. It's okay to fail. It's not okay to be a failure. Because a failure is how you view you. A failure is never a person. It's always an event. So I'm not a fail. I may have failed, but that's just giving me a lesson to where I'm trying to get to. I'm growing with God on this journey. And here's what I figured out. The labels we identify with, we begin to live out. And then we miss the life that God desires for us to live. And here's the thing. You get to choose the identity. That's what we're going to be doing here in a few moments. Identity. We're going to die to our old identity, and then we're going to come up in the newness of Christ. And you get to choose that. Like, you can walk in the confidence of Christ. You can walk in the peace of Christ. You can walk in the grace of Christ. And some of you are, well, I don't feel that way. Listen, I feel things all the time that are inconsistent with who I am. I'm not living my life by my feelings. I'm living my life by my faith. Well, what about what I did? Well, you're not identifying with your past. You're identifying with Christ and his death and his burial and his resurrection and the Christ and the life that he gave you to live. And some of us want to believe that. We're thinking it in our head, and then we're thinking, but no, we're going to break the but cycle today. How do you do it? Here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. You understand. If you're an extra note taker, write down that word. Just understand. Understand what? Understand the land of the grapes is the land of the giants. Amen. Here's how you break it. Understand this. The land of significance is the land of sacrifice. The land of blessing is the land of battles. That'd be a good series. Blessings and battles, Pastor Ryan's Blessings and Battles. Understand that victory requires effort. No, not but. No. I'm going to tell myself that if it's hard on purpose. I'm going to tell myself if it's taking longer than I think it should, God's going to get me where I need to be right on time. I'm going to tell myself if I see a dead end, God sees a new beginning. I'm not making excuses for where I am. I'm going to where he has for me. I'm going to break the cycle. The second thing is this, jot it down. Number two, find you a Caleb. Man, find you a Caleb. Find somebody to challenge your faith. Find somebody to surround yourself with to push you to believe God boldly. Find someone who is not impressed with you. Find someone who will tell you the truth. Find someone who will tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. Find you a Caleb. What's this Caleb? I love Caleb. You got to find you a Caleb. Here's what it says in verse 30. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses. And he said, what did he say? Say it with me. We should. That's what, hey, I'm going to tell you right now, I know what all these people are saying. There were 10 of them. 2 people said this. We should go up and take possession of the land for what? For we can certainly do it. Caleb had faith. Amen. Caleb had passion. Caleb had confidence. Caleb refused to bow to the crowd. Amen. Can I tell you something? The crowd can be wrong. Dear God, the crowd can be wrong. 10 out of 12 people said this. 10 out of 12 people said we can't. 10 out of 12 people said God was right about the land. It does flow with milk and honey. 10 out of 12 people said God was right about the people. The people God told us are there, they're there. 10 out of 12 people said God was right about the land, right about the people. And 10 out of 12 people said God's wrong about us. Because he said, y'all can go do this. 10 out of 12 people said, no, we can't. See, can I tell you, some people are going to think Caleb's crazy. They're going to think Caleb's crazy. I remember when I was a youth pastor, there was a young man in my youth group named Caleb. He was about 6'2", about 300 pounds. He's an African-American young man. We took him tubing for the very first time. We went up to a river in Virginia, and we were tubing, and I remember sitting in the classroom, and we were sitting there, and they tell you, like, hey, if you go river rafting and you fall out, here's what you do. If you get stuck, it's a hydraulic. You get stuck in a hydraulic. If you fight it, you're going to stay down. But if you just sit there, it'll spit you out, which I was like, I don't think I trust that right there. So literally, we're rolling down the river, going down the river. Me and some kids, we're going down the river, and the youth pastor, Todd, falls out. I fall out of the thing, and I get in one of those little swerves, one of those little hydraulics, and man, I'm in there, and I go under the water, and I go up, and I go under the water, and the third time I come down, I don't go back up, and y'all, I start panicking. I'm having visions of dying before I get married, and I'm having visions of like Boys to Men. Although we come to the end of the road. I mean, it's over. I am going down. And I felt like Jack on Titanic, I'll never let you go. I'm like, hey, it's over, man. They're going to bury me in the river. The next thing I know, somebody has picked me up and lifted me up above his head. He carries me in the river like I'm a baby. Guess who it is? Caleb. When I fell out the boat, He jumped out the boat. The river guy said, Caleb, you can't jump out the boat. Here comes Caleb. He's 6'2". I mean, the water's up to his thighs. He ain't even, he's like, you're going to drown. Caleb's like, what? He reaches down. I got you, Pastor. Yeah, you need to find you a Caleb. Find you a Caleb. Find you one of these Caleb. Don't process your faith through someone else's limitations. Find you a Caleb. You got to find some. Caleb wasn't reckless. He was fearless. Find you a Caleb. Caleb wasn't reckless. Caleb believed God was faithful. Find you a Caleb. I don't know exactly what Caleb was thinking. Maybe he's thinking if God was right about the land, if he was right about the fruit, then he's right about me. Maybe he was thinking that if God is with us and got us out to Egypt, then it doesn't matter anything or anyone that stands against us. Maybe he was thinking that giants are beatable. Can I tell you something? Giants are beatable. Addiction is beatable. Insecurity is beatable. Sin is beatable. Pride is beatable. I'm going to preach till I name the very thing that you struggle with. I'm telling you right now, greed is beatable. Jealousy is beatable. Unsatisfaction is beatable. Because when I walk in the identity of Christ, I walk in who he is, not in who I am. Find you a Caleb. Find you a Caleb. Missy Tyler's a Caleb. She is, man. Makes me, I'm telling you, I talk 5 minutes with Missy, I'll storm the gates of hell with a water pistol. I'm telling you right now, she's a Caleb. Pastor Frank's a Caleb, man. I'm telling you, you hang out with him, you walk through hell with gasoline drawers on and have fun doing it. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to be, can I tell you something? Some of you don't, can I change? Can you go back to the point 2? You need to change this point. Some of you don't need to find you a Caleb. Some of you need to cross out find and probably be you a Caleb. Some of you need to be a Caleb. Men. It's time for you to be a Caleb. Married men, fathers, listen to me. Be a Caleb. You got people counting on you. You got people depending on you. Hey, moms, be a Caleb. Man, it is time for some of us to be the strong one. Some of you have been coming to church for years. It's time for you to be the hopeful one. It's time for you to meet somebody in the lobby. Nobody talked to me today, and I've got so much going on. You need to be one out in the lobby trying to find somebody that's got something going on, saying, I believe God's going to move on your behalf. I believe you should go up and take possession of the land. I believe you can have what he has assigned for you. You need to be a Caleb. Some of you need to quit looking for a mentor and start to be a mentor. It's time for some of us to quit attending a small group and lead a small group. There's no small groups I like. I just need somebody to lead me. I need somebody. Man, some of y'all been saved 20 years. What are you waiting on? Lead a small group for the glory of God and be a Caleb. And some of you are, well, I love to, but nothing. But nothing. No, we breaking the but cycle today. I hear it all the time. Well, I love to lead a small group, but I'm just a bank teller. But no, you ain't just a but nothing. Let me tell you something right now. You ain't just a bank teller. You're God's agent assigned to Wells Fargo and Regions Bank on assignment from heaven to you're God's ambassador. You're his highest ranking official. I'm just a teacher. No, you're not just a teacher. You're an undercover agent designed by God to pull potential out of students that don't even know they got it. I'm just a construction worker. No, you're not. You're the pastor of the job site. You're on there with a divine identity. You are there with an assignment. You are there to make a difference for the kingdom. You're not just a nothing. With God, you can. And if you can't be your Caleb today, I'll be your Caleb. You can do what he's called you to do. You can do what he's asked you to do. Why? Because the power of the risen Savior is on the inside of you. Put your hands together, 830. Let me ask you a question. How many of you are harder on yourself than you are on anybody? Stop it. Stop it. Man of God, stop it. Woman of God, stop it. Because I think Christians struggle with insecurity, identity, uncertainty, and then call it humility. Can I tell you something? Humility is not hating who you are. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, C.S. Lewis said. It's thinking of yourself less. Because when you hate what God created, you devalue what he created. Humility is saying, I know who I am in Christ, and I'm deciding to live like it. Here's what it is. Number 3. Throw number 3 up there. I think you got to allow God to change your view of you. You got to allow God to change your view. And we're going to get to witness that in just a few moments. In fact, if you're here in this service to be baptized, I want you to stand to your feet, and I want you to come meet Pastor Jesse over here. Come on, church, let's put our hands together for those getting baptized today. Because they're about to literally identify with the resurrected Savior. That when they go down in this tank and come back up, they are no longer them that lives, but it's Christ that lives in them. God was not the children of Israel's limitation, and he's not yours either. This is the defining moment in the story of Exodus from promised land, or from Egypt to the promised land. I pray it will be a defining moment in your life, but most people in this room have an incorrect view of who you are. I don't think most people struggle with pride. I think we struggle with identity. In fact, the fight for the life you desire is more internal than external. Watch what it says. Verse 33. We saw the Nephilim there. You know who they are? They're the descendants of Anak. They're the giants. They're the unbeatable. And we, say it when we sing. Look at the first 3 letters. We see. God, help me see what you see. Notice what we seemed like grasshoppered in our, say it with me, own eyes. And the same was for them. Did you notice that nobody asked God what he saw? I'm going to set some people free today. Believing what God says about you is not pride. Oh, I was supposed to tell you about the biggest enemy. I didn't even talk about that. That's the title of the message. You didn't talk about it. Because you know what the biggest enemy is? It's not Anak. It's not the Nephilim. My biggest enemy is my inner me. It's my inner me. Kind of cheesy, but it's kind of true. My biggest enemy is my inner me, because we become what we believe about ourselves. So I wrote some things down for us to maybe confess what we believe about ourselves. Will you repeat after me? I believe. That is not convincing. I'll tell you right now, if you walk out this room, the devil is going to whoop your tail. I believe. Come on, say, I believe. I believe. I'm forgiven. I believe. I'm free. I believe. God knows me and loves me. I believe I have purpose. I believe I'm here on assignment. I believe. Come on, some of you are falling out. Stand to your feet right now. I believe I'm equipped. I believe I can do what he's called me to. I believe I'm worthy. I'm worthy of his love. I'm worthy of his grace. I'm worthy of his spirit. I'm worthy of his power. Come on, I'm worthy of his promise. I believe. I'm confident. I'm justified. I'm sanctified. I'm righteous. I believe that God, that was faithful in my past, will be faithful in my future. I believe if I don't have it, I don't need it. I believe he's a way maker. I believe he's a miracle worker. I believe he's moving when I can't see him. I believe that he's moving when I can't feel it. I believe that God's going to show up in the middle of the impossible, because I'm not a grasshopper. I'm a giant slayer.